Hello everyone, welcome back to Black Heaven, a necromantic dating sim. Let's go ahead and continue on with the room. You look down at the grimoire and slowly open the cover. You turn to Rue's page and gaze down at the shifting constellation of points. What do I say? I should prepare something just in case. You stop yourself. You feel the old habits creeping back into you. No, I don't need that anymore. I just have to be honest. Beyond that, whatever happens, happens. You breathe in through your mouth, then let it out through your nose. Rue or Kazi. The diagram on the page stops shifting and locks into place as an 8-pointed star. You feel the air around you become cold, and you catch a soft whispering at the edge of your hearing. A finger emerges from the grimoire, then the hand. The arm follows, and then you watch Rue rise on the book. When she finally emerges, she steps out of the book and onto the tabletop. She looms over you, and you notice that her fists are clenched and her jaw is tight. She forces words out of her mouth one at a time, and her eyes bore into yours. It was you. You were the one who turned the disease into an epidemic. You were the one who made sure it spread out of control. Yeah, it was. Do you realize what you've done? If it was only you and I, we would have infected maybe 24 people. They would have been able to stop the spread before it got out of hand. Maybe even treated some of the patients. I may not have made it, but I wouldn't. It wouldn't be the end of the entire academy. Centuries of learning, tens of thousands of people, all ashes, all because of you. You nod slowly and gaze back at her. You're right. It's all my fault. Rue puts her palm on her face and digs her nails into her skin, all while gritting her teeth. How can you be so calm about it? You killed everyone on campus, and then you lied to get out. You should be... I don't know. Rue steps off the table and drops to the ground, and tries to push you into your chair, but her hands pass straight through you. Your eyes unfocus as you try to wrap your head around the knowledge that you wiped out Itzon. Not just the people, their knowledge too. And Itzon was only the beginning. I know. I just... still coming to terms with it. What does that mean? You blink and look up at Rue. It means that to regret what I did, I had to grasp it. Saying sorry isn't enough. Rue folds her arms and shivers with rage. That's what you said just before. Just shut up. It doesn't matter whether you say sorry, it doesn't matter anymore. It's all over. It's not over, not until You remember what comes after you apologize to Rue, Izalian leaves. I had to take them to No Eyes. I had to give them their souls so I can start again. Not until I make this right. How do you plan to do that? Getting on your knees and begging for my forgiveness? I can't unburn all the students in Itzon. You don't have to forgive me. I don't think I deserve it anyway. I want to be honest. For once, I owe you that. Honest about what, Uzal? You rise to your feet and inhale, and stand there silently for a while. For most of the time I knew you, I was putting on an act. I acted differently around you than other people. And after a while, I was trying to, get close to you. I said what you wanted to hear and acted the way I thought you wanted me to act so I could. You trail off. So, what were you really thinking? He gazed back at her for a few seconds. Tell her the truth. Only the truth. When I met you, I thought you were pathetic. Rue purses her lips and shakes her head, but doesn't say anything. You see tears begin to collect at the edges of her eyes. I don't think I've seen this pose before, or maybe I just don't remember. I thought you were too nervous and too young to be a real mentor. I'd met people like you, book smart but nothing else. As soon as I spent some time with you, I knew I could probably get close to you. I kind of did it unconsciously. You think back to the day you'd help Rue prepare for her lecture. It almost hurt you to see how nervous she was. You wanted to do the speech for her just to get it over with. And when she froze up and disappeared into her office, leaving you outside her door, you were glad you didn't have to comfort her. You were glad that you could just leave her and worry about yourself. You were tired of empathizing with her because it kept reminding you of all the times you were nervous and pathetic and ashamed. I wanted to pretend I wasn't like you. Back in Senkaku, we loved people like you. Too meek and polite to say no. You could walk all over them, take whatever they had, and they'd apologize to you. I hated those people the most. Rue makes a choking sound like something is caught in her throat. I knew it. You smile as the tears come to your eyes too. She suspected from the start. Do you want to know why I hated them? Rue covers her face with her hands and groans softly into them. You walk close to her and reach out to put a hand on her arm, but you stop. You sniff and let your arm drop. I hated people like you because you reminded me of myself. Rue looks up from her hands, her brows are knitted, and her face is stained with tears. What the hell are you talking about? I was a fucking liar because I was afraid of anyone seeing who I really was, and I knew that was fucking pathetic. I thought, being vulnerable and being pathetic, that they were the same thing. But you were you're earnest and kind and ambitious. You weren't pathetic at all. I was desperate to have someone like you. I wanted someone who cared about me, someone selfless and gentle. Rue scoffs and wipes her eyes, shaking her head. She lowers her gaze so she doesn't have to keep looking at you. They told me there'd be people like you, but I didn't want to believe it. I thought I knew you, but I never understood how you could do that. You shake your head slowly and stare down at Rue's feet. I was selfish. I was so selfish, and I ruined it. Rue leans against a table and then sits herself down on it. She shuts her eyes and hugs herself tightly. She stays that way for a while, her chest rising and falling in time with her small sobs. You sit down on the corner of the table and look out at the darkened library, listening to her. Finally, you hear her speak. How much of it was fake? Which parts? You turn to her, surprised. Huh? I'm trying to remember. There are times when I really thought Oh no. I know you didn't really love me, but how much of the rest was a lie?
You wipe your eyes with your ragged sleeve. After the faculty party, it changed. After you told me you were sick of being scared and timid. You said you wanted to change and you didn't want to wait until you were immortal to, live life. You said that was the trap. After that, I looked at you differently. I saw how hard you're trying to change. I started seeing other sides of you, things I didn't expect. It made me wonder if I was wrong about a lot of things.
But you were still seeing the other girls.
Yeah, I try not to think about that.
How could you not think about it? When you were kissing them, how could you not?
You know that feeling when you drink too much? And you just collapse in bed that night feeling warm and mellow? But you know you're going to have a hangover? You know you're going to wake up miserable, but when you're drifting out to sleep, you just pretend that your feeling now is gonna last forever.
Did you sleep with the other girls too?
You pause. You feel an echo of panic shoot through you. Some part tells you that if you just lie, you might be able to salvage all of this to Rue. I did. Rue hangs her head and gives a ragged, shallow sigh.
So that was just an act when we did it. You were probably ridiculing me in your head. I shouldn't have shown you that side of me. It's mortifying to know that the whole time you
tried to interrupt her before she gets too far. No, it wasn't like that. You wanna know what I thought? I felt like an idiot. I was so afraid of screwing it up. Rue stops and looks over at you. You cover your eyes with your hand for a moment. I've never done something like that before. And even though I've sat here and told you that I've been pretending lying the whole time, doing that with you, I was terrified I wouldn't be able to, be your fantasy.
But you must have thought it was silly. I mean, I was your mentor.
By the time we were in that classroom, all I was thinking about how I was going to pull it off without making a fool of myself and disappointing you.
How do I know you're telling the truth?
Because, remember when I bit down on you a little too hard? I stopped because I thought, that I hurt you?
Yeah?
That was when I thought I really screwed it up. I think it showed on my face.
I remember how you looked. You were very anxious and I didn't understand why.
No, that wasn't acting. Rue nods and looks down at her knees.
What were you thinking when we were...
You look up at the ceiling and try to remember. I felt hunger. Like I was starving and you were a banquet or something. I couldn't get enough. Fast enough. I remember I wanted to touch all of you, see all of you, everything I could.
I see.
I remember at the end you grabbed onto me tightly. Like you were afraid that I'd disappear or something. Rue looks away from me and covers her face with one hand.
Yeah, I did.
What was going through your head? You seemed scared almost. Rue seems to struggle with her words for a few seconds, then turns her face so that you can see more of her. Her hand is still covering most of her mouth and cheeks.
I was scared. I was afraid of... It doesn't make much sense when you say it out loud, but I was afraid that I'd wake up.
Wake up? You mean from a dream?
Yes, I'd had... Well, you remember what we did with the Tezima. I'd had dreams about doing... You know... physical things with you before. And it got to the point that I started realizing they were dreams. Whenever we started doing it in the dream, I'd feel this sense of dread. Like something wasn't right, and then I'd realize I was dreaming and I'd wake up. That happens to me a lot in my dreams.
What do you mean?
When you really spend all your time thinking about something when you're awake, it starts to seep into your dreams too.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time practicing talking to people in my head. Even when I was lying in bed, I tried to figure out what I would say in different situations. And I started having dreams about meeting people and trying to talk to them. But I couldn't remember what to say, you know, those kinds of dreams. But the thing was, when I would talk to people in real life, I'd get this strange feeling like this was a dream. It was like I'd spent so much time in my head thinking and imagining all these things that when they'd actually happened, I felt like it wasn't real. And that's why I was trying to hold on to you when we did that. I didn't want that to turn out to be just in my head.
Rue looks down at her lap and puts both of her palms on the edge of the table.
I guess it wasn't real after all. Just not in the way I was expecting.
You let that hang in the air for a while. When you were holding on to me afterwards, that was the real me. Rue gives you a sidelong glance.
What do you mean?
I didn't feel that hunger anymore. I wasn't thinking about how I seemed to you. I was just exhausted and I felt like I could relax there. With you.
I felt that way too.
I did. Your hands rise and fidget in your lap. You have trouble forcing the words out of your mouth. I did really feel that I loved you. It wasn't all an act. I don't know if that changes anything, or if it's even worth anything. Rue sighs and closes her eyes.
Maybe that's true. That doesn't change what you did.
No, it doesn't.
What happened to those other girls? My classmates.
Izagi and Lise? They didn't survive.
Did you find them? Here on campus, I mean. They're ghosts.
Yeah. I'm going to talk to them too.
Did they succumb to the disease or did they get burned?
Izagi took her own life, and Lise, she didn't get infected, but some of the faculty grabbed her and tried to use her body as material for transplants.
Oh god, they really started harvesting students.
Yeah. They let the dean out too, even though he was infected.
Those bastards. I'd always wondered what they'd do if they were faced with death. What lengths they'd go to.
Rue's lips tighten as she seems to remember something.
You managed to lie your way out of the campus pretty easily, didn't you?
Yeah.
Those guards waited for you to come back with a cure, but you never.
Rue doesn't finish the thought.
You ruined so many people's lives.
I know.
I mean, at that hearing, I felt like my life was over. I was going to be forced to resign, and if I hadn't been so scared about figuring out what was wrong with the flesh, I think I would have been happy to die after that.
Rue turns her eyes to you.
What about you? After you talk to the other girls, what are you going to do?
Noise's helmet flashes in your mind. I don't know.
What's life like outside the campus? Have things gone back to normal?
Not really. I don't know if it's just this continent, but things got pretty bad.
I see. So what have you been doing since you left?
Looking for a cure, studying old textbooks. I used to work with some others. That was a long time ago, though.
And no one knows what you did?
No, not really. I told one guy, but he's too crazy for anyone to believe him.
Huh. Okay.
An uneasy silence settles between the two of you.
I appreciate you being honest with me about all these things. I've been turning everything that happened over and over in my mind, and I was wondering about you for a long time. I just couldn't understand you. Now that I do, I don't know. All those terrible feelings are still there, but they aren't ripping me apart at the seams like before. I remember being a ghost, and this like every second, every hour, just scraping over those old memories again and again, endlessly. And not just you. Memories from when I was younger, too. You saw my memories too, didn't you? When you were putting me back together again.
You open your mouth, but only a dry, violent cough comes out. You double over, hacking and choking.
Uzo, are you okay?
You cough hard and smell warm blood on the inside of your mask. I think I need to check the filter on my mask. You fall to your knees and tear the filter off your mask. Then dig around in your satchel. You pull out the new one, and then quickly screw it into place. I think I'm bleeding in my lungs.
Oh, God, that's not good.
I'll have to finish talking later.
Okay.
You reach under the table and close the grimoire. Rue disappears. As soon as she's gone, you open your shirt again and stare at the sealed incision. You try to breathe evenly, but there's a raggedness to each one of your breaths. You can feel pain spreading across your chest, right in the lower right part of your lung. Looks like I only regenerate part of the wound. You reach into your satchel for your circle of knives again and steel yourself for another round of surgery. Oh boy. When it's over, you wipe your bloody finger on a scrap of bandage and try to catch your breath. You keep your eyes closed for a long time, trying to feel whether it really worked this time. There's still pain in your chest, but you can't tell if it's from the spell or the wound. Can't keep doing this. The more I cut myself open, the more dust I'm letting in, and that means the cancer gets in with it. I just have to finish this as fast as I can. You stand up, button up your shirt, and pack away your knives. What was I saying? Alright.
Just
sit down at the table and stare at the grimoire once again. You sigh and open the cover, turn the Rue's page, and run your fingertips over the shifting designs. Rukazi. Rue's transparent form begins to emerge from the book once again, until she stepped out of the pages and off the table. She rubs her arm and gives you a slight nod.
Hello. Again.
Hello.
Are you okay? There's blood.
Yeah, it was just... took a little bit of work, but I should be okay for now. Later I'll have problems.
I see.
You motion to the seat across from you. Want to sit down? You don't understand.
Alright.
Rue sits down across from you and rests her elbows on the tabletop. She looks down at the grimoire and raises her eyebrows.
It looks like a mirror when I look into it. A book-shaped mirror.
Really? I don't see that.
Never mind.
So, where were we?
I don't remember. I think I was talking about memories of being a ghost.
Your memories. That's what we were talking about. You asked which ones I saw when I was putting you back together.
Right. I was curious since I got to see your memories from your point of view. I could even hear your thoughts and wondered if... How much did you see?
I saw your meeting with a tutor named Mr. Tarasia when you were young, I think. I saw you meeting your mentor at Itsan and your big presentation in the Garden of Flash. And one part when you had a telescope and your parents got angry at you.
You saw a lot.
Yeah. I finally got to see what your mentor was like, Master Barras. Rue breaks into a smile.
That actually makes me really happy. Master Barras is so much larger than life in my mind. I have a hard time expressing how intelligent and kind and funny he was. I remember Mr. Tarasia too. Of all the people in my life, those two were the ones I always found myself coming back to. Whenever I would feel like my work was useless and going nowhere, I would think about Tarasia's constellations and what he said about immortality scholars. Minds like ours were made for eternity, because we appreciate everything that the world can offer. I remember him saying that. From the stars in the sky to the paths of blood vessels. And by the time I got to Itsan, I was so ready to live up to those dreams, for Master Barras to meet me for a loop. Rue lowers her chin and imitates Master Barras' voice. Drink just enough alcohol to feel like you're floating. Rue giggles to herself. I also saw your memory of when we first met during the first week I was at Itsan. That time I was looking at me through your eyes like I was in your head. Could you hear my thoughts?
Yeah, I could.
Really? Well, that's mortifying. God, I must have been a nervous wreck.
I remember. You were anxious about living up to Master Barras' standards, and you were wondering if you could really teach someone, stuff like that.
I remember a name for that meeting. Rosu or Roku?
Oh yeah, Roku Shugi. I don't remember talking about him, but...
It was in your letter. Your old master said you'd studied his work.
Yeah, that's what it was.
He was an interesting person. He was one of the first people who said that immortality scholars had to reshape their minds to match their work.
Ended up driving a lot of people insane, I think.
True, but that's actually why I knew you and I would get along at that first meeting.
You chuckle under your breath. You thought I was a little insane.
Yes, but, well, you had to stretch yourself beyond solid material things. Maybe not insane, but you had to be a little crazy. Your letter said you were spending hours sketching blood vessels of a heart.
You nod. Because they look the same as tree branches.
Roku emphasized that humans need to adjust their minds to the micro and macrocosmic time-space patterns. That's what always fascinated me. My mind was always finding its way back to those kinds of things. And when you spend all that time thinking about that stuff, reality can seem a little boring.
You nod, then smile to yourself. It's strange to see versions of you from the past. You see little bits and pieces of you I knew shining through, but there are some parts that were new.
Like what?
Like when you were looking at those ghosts through your telescope. I'd seen you get excited when you taught me something, but not, just taking joy in things you learned for yourself. I could understand what it must have felt like when you were young and the world was full of things to discover, things to explore.
Yeah.
And to go from someone who loved exploring the world all by themselves to someone who had to teach other people. I don't know.
It's funny to see how all those moments stack on top of one another, like little blocks. And suddenly you become someone you never really decided to be.
You didn't want to be a scholar?
I didn't want to be so meek and pitiful. I didn't want to be so bad at living. I thought it would all work itself out in the end somehow. But it doesn't.
Yeah. I remember how you looked after your big presentation in the Garden of Flesh. With all those people sitting around that table asking you about your work. Rue has a melancholy smile.
That was the only time I felt like I was interesting to people. It was nice even if it was only for one evening. Did you ever feel that way? I know you said you had a few friends, but it seemed like you had trouble fitting in.
There were a few times I felt like people were on my side, but it was just for a second. People are fickle, so I try not to care. But I did. At first I told myself that I didn't have the time to make friends, but I still got lonely. When I realized that most of the people at Itsun were so different from me. I told myself that it was better to be alone, but that wasn't really true.
I'm guessing you didn't think I was enough to keep you from feeling lonely.
You meet Rue's gaze and sigh. I don't think anything would ever be enough. Even if everyone loved me, it wouldn't have satisfied me. If I had stayed with you, only you, would that have been enough to make you happy? Rue looks away and fidgets with her fingers.
Honestly, at the time, I thought I would. I thought that love was the one thing missing. I was happy at first, deliriously happy, but when that faded, I realized that having a lover meant more worrying. Worrying what you thought about me, worrying about your feelings, worrying whether I was being selfish and if I really deserved it. You're the best thing I'd had in my life, but no, I still wasn't content. It's hard to imagine ever being really, truly happy, actually. As soon as you get whatever you've been wanting, it turns out that there's something else. Hey, Uzo.
Yeah.
Are you going to let me out of the Grimoire?
Noise's grin flashes through your mind. Yeah, I am. But first I'm going to take you to Lazula. There's a physiomancer down there who wants to talk to you.
About what?
He thinks he can create a cure for the plague, maybe. He's not sure, but he asked me to find someone from Itzan who understood flesh regeneration. After that, I'll let you loose.
I see. Well, that's a good thing.
Rue looks away, as if her mind is on something else. What's wrong?
I feel like I'm mostly me right now, but I know that eventually I'm going to start forgetting things again, or getting fixated on things. I can feel it deep down already. I'm glad you put my soul back together, but sooner or later, I know I'm going to fall apart again. And I don't want to go back to being the way I was. When I was a ghost, I felt like I couldn't let go of anything. I kept going over the past in my head. It was torture. I was doing it to myself, but I couldn't stop myself. It was like
you're trapped in a loop.
Yes, exactly.
I know what you mean. I felt that way for a long time, whether I knew it or not.
I remember feeling like that when I was still alive. But when I was a ghost, it got so much worse. I couldn't even think. All I could do was just let it carry me down. It was like I was going down a hole that never ended. Through all the memories and the feelings, I don't want to go back to that.
Maybe I can help.
How?
It's hard to explain, but when I finished the memory, when I was leaving its son, I realized that you tried to remember the words. I had to stop. I had to stop being terrified and pathetic. If I can stop, then I'll break the cycle and all. But if you stopped being you, what would you be? You take a deep breath and shrug. I realized I couldn't stand myself anymore. But I couldn't become someone else. I was trapped in an endless loop. And I got so frustrated and felt so helpless that I just fell apart.
Fell apart? Like a nervous breakdown?
No, it wasn't like that. I just stopped trying to do anything or be anything. And that's when I realized that all that hate and selfishness, it didn't come from anywhere. It was just me holding on to the idea of me. Rue furrows her brows.
I don't quite understand.
Yeah, I know it sounds confusing and bizarre, but
I mean, we're all products of our experiences, our memories, our past.
But is that all you are? A bunch of memories? Maybe it's like what you told me about the anchors of the soul. The soul already needs to be anchored to something, whether it's flesh or something else. Because when the soul looks out of the eyes, it doesn't see itself. It sees parts of the body, and that's what it latches onto. That's what gives it its shape. But when the body dies, the anchors keep it grounded, just disappear. No trace of them. You're not your body. You're not your memories. You're not your fears or your desires or your thoughts.
So what are we?
You hesitate. You know what you want to say, but you know it won't make any sense. No one.
That's not true, though. Everyone's someone. I know who I am.
It's complicated. Here, let me try something. You get up, pull a random book off the shelf, and rip a page from it. You sit down with the page and carefully cut it into a square with your knife. When you're finished, you pass the paper to Rue. Can you make me a lotus?
Yes, but why?
I want to see if I'm right about something.
Okay.
Rue begins to fold the lotus, using her fingertips to fold the leaves and the heel of her palm to crease the long folds.
After a few minutes, Rue presents you with a freshly folded lotus. You take it from her with your fingertips and carefully unfold it. If a lotus can be a map of the soul, you look over the pattern lines, searching for mistakes and deviations in the symmetry. When you find them, you turn the Rue's page in the grimoire and begin to arrange the constellation of points with your finger, setting them in a place like pieces on the board. When you're finished, the patterns of lines and vertices in the grimoire match the folds of the lotus. Thousands of smaller, thinner lines cross in the center of the design, and there you see the hazy outline of another point, formed by the intersection of all the lines. You reach out and softly brush the point with your tip of the finger, and you see Rue shudder. What are you doing? There's something here. I don't know if it's a memory or something else. In your mind, however, you already realize what it is. The sum of all Rue's flaws, fears, and desires. Rue peers across the table, but as soon as her eyes fall on the page, she freezes. You see her eyes shut immediately and her head turn away from the page. Rue, what's wrong? Close the book. What does it look like to you? Can't. Just close the book. Rue, you have to. No! You reach out and try to grasp Rue's hand, but your fingers pass straight through her. Rue, please, don't look away! You want to escape that endless loop? You want to make sure you don't fall apart again? This is the only way I can think of. Rue looks at you, still shielding her face from looking at the book. Please, you have to trust me. How can I trust you? You open your mouth, but nothing comes out. You close your lips again and just gaze back at her, hoping that the book in your eyes is enough to convince her. She looks away. I can't. I'll come with you. You'll have to do it alone. Rue turns to face you again and stares at you. You see tears in her eyes. I can't, not with you. Your shoulders slump. You look down at the grimoire, watching the pattern shift. I understand. Both of you stand there for a long time. Rue wipes her eyes and stares at the table, but you can still see her chest hitch a little as she sniffles. Even if what you're saying makes sense, I just can't bring myself to. I get it. You sigh and rest her face in one palm. She won't trust me again, not after all this. I think it'd just be best if I went back in the grimoire. Alright. You close the grimoire, and Rue disappears. You sigh and sit down, staring at the cover. I did all I could. Two choices. Talk to Lise or leave it on. I should probably talk to Lise. You look down at the grimoire and slowly open the cover. You turn to Lisa's page and gaze down the shifting constellation of points. I don't know what I can say to her. She really had dreams and I killed them. And after she trusted me enough to drop her facade, how can I convince her I'm not lying again? You close your eyes and sigh, and you begin to think of things to say, but you push all of them out of your head. I just have to tell her the truth and leave it there. There's nothing else I can do. You breathe in through your mouth and let it out through your nose. Elise Bouveau. The diagram on the page stops shifting and locks into place as a pentagon.
You feel the air around you become cold, and you catch a soft whispering at the edge of your hearing. A finger emerges from the grimoire, then the hand. An arm follows, and then you watch Lise rise from the book. She steps out of the pages, looks down at you with a baleful expression, and then eases herself down to sit on the edge of the table. She slips off the table, takes a seat across from you, and rests her chin on her fists. Her eyes are blank and unfocused, and she seems to be staring at the table. Lise? She doesn't respond or even look at you. You say her name a little louder and more forcefully to try and shake her out of her trance. Lise. Lise raises her eyes to meet yours. What? Did you?
Yeah, I saw everything. Now what?
I wanted to talk to you about it.
I don't.
Why?
What's there to say? I died. You didn't. You lied to me, and I believed it.
Are you angry? Lise sits up and glares at you.
Why the hell do you care? What does it matter how I feel? I don't matter anymore. I could spend the next eternity trying to be mad at you, but at the end of it, it won't change anything. Just fucking throw the grimoire down a well and let me go back to living in memories. At least there I can pretend there's something to care about.
Lise goes back to resting her chin on her fist and staring at the table. You sit in silence for a while, trying to figure out what to say next. I expected her to be angry, but instead she's just dejected. She says she doesn't care anymore, but I don't think that's true. Still, what am I supposed to do? Tell her she should just be pissed off? You slump in your chair and sigh. What memory do you keep coming back to in the grimoire? Lisa's mouth moves, but her expression doesn't change.
My first performance.
You recall that memory, Lise waiting in the wings, then heading out on stage accompanied by all those actors playing ghosts. That was the one where you jumped in a tub of water at the end, right? Lisa's eyes flick up to meet yours.
You saw that, huh?
You sang beautifully.
Yeah.
Another span of silence falls between you as Lise seems to lose herself in reminiscing again. You worked for a long time to get to that night, I imagine.
Yep.
What was it like, being an understudy? Lise shakes her head and leans back in the chair, crossing her arms.
You're just going to keep bothering me until I accept your apology, right? That's the plan?
My plan was just to be honest with you. I thought you deserved that.
Honest about what?
Everything that happened, with what I said and what I did.
You don't have to be honest about it with me. You slept around and you covered it up. I've done that. You don't have to explain it to me. Then, when you found out you were going to get expelled, you decided to take the academy down with you. Which killed, I don't know, a couple thousand people, and me, indirectly, I guess. That I wish you hadn't done that stuff? Yeah, I do. I wish you just fucking left the campus and disappeared. Or at least try to apologize before I was already dead.
I really thought you wouldn't have wanted to see me back then.
Lise gives a short, half-hearted laugh. I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't have let you into my room. You'd have to shout everything through the door. But when I didn't see or hear anything from you, I thought, so I wasn't the one he really cared about. It was one of the other two. I was just an easy lay.
You were never that to me. Lisa's mouth rises into a bitter smile.
Why are you trying to keep up the facade? The game's over. You don't have to keep pretending.
I'm not pretending. I cared about you.
Who are you trying to convince? Me? Or you?
Jesus, Lise, you didn't have to drop that on us. That's... Oh.
What? You've been sitting with that guilt for years now. And it's starting to get pretty bitter tasting, right? So you decide that's not what really happened. You tell yourself that you were misguided, you were weak, and you made a mistake, but deep down you weren't really a selfish prick. You cared. And just like that, it's not your fault anymore because deep down you're a good person. Is that what you believe? That you're a good person? That you really did love me the most and everything else was just a mistake?
You stare at Lise. She's breathing harder now, and her voice has inched up in volume. I'm not a good person, and it wasn't a mistake. Lise raises her eyebrows. I prided myself on being a good liar. I tried to keep that part of me hidden though. You, on the other hand, threw it in people's faces. You played with people, you weren't ashamed about it to me. It seemed like you wanted people to know. That's what caught my attention at first. It's one thing to trick someone, but it's another for someone to know you're tricking them, but they go along with it anyway. That's an art. Part of me was impressed, and part of me was jealous of that. I told myself you were just some egotistical airhead who needed attention. You shake your head and fold your hands in your lap. But I kept learning things about you that didn't fit that picture. I wanted to see if I could figure out who you really were. Lise chuckles and brushes back her hair.
So you made me a project of yours.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's funny. You were a project of mine too.
Yeah.
I thought from the beginning that there was something off about you. You didn't quite add up. You didn't come from money and you didn't come from high society. You were smart, but you seemed like you're barely treading water with the coursework. And on top of that, you're the most curmudgeonly person I ever met. You're like an old man in a young guy's body. You're like a little walnut I wanted to crack. Because if I could get you to warm up to me, that meant I could do it with anyone.
So it was a challenge.
Exactly, but lo and behold, you weren't what I expected, so I guess we were both surprised.
Lise smiles slightly, but it quickly fades.
But I eventually stopped playing games with you. And you didn't.
It wasn't all a game. At the beginning, I guess it was, but after.
After what?
After you dragged me to that bar during winter break, and I told you about the girl I dated. You said you wanted to be straight with me. That's when it stopped being a game.
So, when did you start cheating?
Before that.
And you kept going. For how long? Until the festival?
All the way until the end.
So it's always a game with you. It just stopped being about cracking me and became about pretending I was the only one.
Yeah, I guess so.
So who did you really love? Any of the three of us? Or none, really?
You exhale and close your eyes, then rest your forehead on your palm. That was the one question I never let myself think about.
Oh, come on. You had to have a favorite. Who was it?
You shake your head. It wasn't like that. It was the fact that I had 3 people who loved me, 3 people I actually cared about who mattered. I didn't realize that's what I really wanted until I was too deep in it. I couldn't let you go, Razagi, Aru. I spent so long thinking that I was just some pathetic tramp, and to have someone like you, someone smart, pretty, talented, and thoughtful, tell me that you loved me. I couldn't give that up. And I was so selfish, but I still couldn't do it. And I've run out of time, but if you are enjoying this video, please leave a like, comment what you think so far, or if you have any changes on the girls. And if you want to watch more of this visual novel, please check the playlist down below. If you want to watch other visual novels, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and take care.